This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. In the Tony-nominated play Giant, the year is 1983. Beloved children's book author Roald Dahl is at his home in the English countryside, which is under renovation while Dahl himself is under fire. He's caused an uproar with a book review he wrote about Israel's siege of Lebanon. Within his critique of Israel were anti-Semitic statements. Now, Dahl's New York and London publishers have come to convince the best-selling author to apologize and make amends. Jessica Stone is a young American woman who works for Dahl's publisher in America. She's sure that if Dahl just admits that he phrased his dissent carelessly, all the controversy will die down. Instead, over the course of one hot afternoon, Dahl doubles down and triples down, and Jessie, a Jewish woman, becomes the center of Dahl's anger. Giant was written by Mark Rosenblatt, his first play. He's normally a director, but gave that role up to Nicholas Heitner for this project. It's nominated for 4 Tony Awards, including Best Play and Best Supporting Actress nomination for Aya Cash, who plays Jessie Stone. It has been announced the film version of the production will hit movie theaters later this year, but for now, you can see it at the Music Box Theater on Broadway. I'm joined now by playwright Mark Rosenblatt. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And Aya Cash. Nice to meet you as well.
You as well.
So, you spent a long time as a theater director. What made you go over to the dark side? Why did you decide to write a play?
I was totally unexpected and completely startling to find myself writing a play at all. As you said, I was a kind of freelance theatre director. Mm-hmm. Sometimes freelance theatre directors need to come up with their own ideas for projects, maybe find a writer. I had this idea. And I mentioned it to Nicholas Heitner, our director, back in 2018, and he seemed to like the idea. And eventually, about a year later, I did some work on it. He said, why don't you write it? And I don't know, it lit something up in me, and he felt that I was sort of, had spoken so persuasively about it and had such a sort of clear sense of it that giving it to another writer, an actual writer to do, might kind of take it off in a direction that I hadn't envisaged. So I don't know. I was so steeped in it. I just thought, I'll have a go.
Aya, what did you see in your character that made you want to pursue it?
I mean, I think first and foremost, I saw the play. Because when I read the play, I was literally sort of unable to move once I started. So that was the first thing I was excited about, is just the entirety of the play. And then Jessie is incredibly intelligent and is, in many ways, the antagonist of this play. And getting to go head-to-head with ideas, let alone head-to-head with John Lithgow, always appealing.
I'm sure. Do you think she's the antagonist?
In many ways, she is set up to be that. She comes into a space that is completely not hers. And honestly, we started this. I started this journey on the West End, where being the American coming in was the stranger, was the sort of rip in the fabric. And there is, it starts with basically 15 minutes of these Brits being very British and funny, and then this American comes in and is just wrong in a certain way. Yeah. And
it's so funny you should say that. I was going to ask you, because your Americanness does come through. Mm-hmm. How did you think about that, Mark, when you were writing the play, about making Jessie an American?
Well, right at the beginning, the idea was always to have a British and American publisher come to town to kind of work him over, to try and get him to make some kind of conciliatory statement. In my research at the very beginning, I got it wrong in my plan, which was that Robert Gottlieb had been Dahl's publisher, and I just got the dates wrong when I was just kind of outlining. He had already sacked Dahl from Knopf 2 years before. So in my original plan, it was these two guys, Robert Gottlieb and Tom Maschler. Tom Maschler is the British publisher, creator of A Real Person, the inventor of the founder of the Booker Prize, and a sort of wunderkind of British publishing. And so I had these two guys in the room, and then I realized I was just wrong, and he couldn't have been in the room. And I had a vacancy, and I just thought, this is a real opportunity now. It's much more interesting to me to maybe find someone who is, I don't know, quick calculation was like lower ranking, less of a kind of obvious alpha, less the guy in editorial with all the power, someone who's sort of busking, someone who's been sent to do a job. And maybe it's more interesting if it's also not a man, and that allows a space for, you know, misogyny and power dynamics that suddenly became much more exciting to write.
It's interesting. What are 3 characteristics that you would describe Jessie Stone as somebody who's never met her?
Smart, patient, and steely.
She's patient until that particular moment.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of patience. Patience is not perfection. Patience is not sanctum. So, I would say that she's all of those things, but unexpectedly so. I don't think, and she is a woman in publishing in 1983, and there is a certain amount of deference that she comes in with, and playing the role of woman, which I think a lot of women have had to play in spaces with men.
What is Jessie's mission when she heads over to Roald Dahl's house?
So she's not quite sure because she has not been totally briefed, but she knows that she's come to talk about his review, which she's maybe on the tube started making her notes about what he's said wrong. We discussed this a little bit in rehearsal in the UK about just how she's gotten to this moment, and she's late. She has not talked to Mashler about what she's supposed to do, and she's coming in with a lot of feelings, but also a lot of, I don't think she expects what she gets. I think she comes in thinking it's going to be a bit of a civil discussion, and instead gets something quite different. I mean, Mashler says at one point, you were brought in to make a show, and I don't even think she understands that she was supposed to, that she thinks she's being brought in for her intelligence and for her ability to talk to him, and then he says, no, you were brought in to make a show, to make him feel fawned over and flattered.
Well, let's listen to a little bit of Jessie's first interaction with Roald Dahl. This is from Giant.
And is this your first job?
Dearest darling.
Well, is that such a terrible thing to say? You seem terribly young, terribly nervous.
Oh, do I?
I thought there might be congratulations in order. I don't want to be rude.
His manners are widely celebrated.
Well, it is my third. Second at FSG. I came in as an associate. Now I'm a director. Before that, I was with an agency.
Roger tells me she's a rising star.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And are you Jewish?
Roll? I'm so sorry.
Tom and I were discussing your name.
Well,
and
please.
we couldn't quite work it out. Stone, was that Stein?
No.
Well, I'm
No,
not...
Mrs. Stone, you really don't have to answer that.
Why? Tom is. You wouldn't mind my asking Tom. I just want to know.
But it's personal, Roll. People don't just ask you if you believe in God.
I don't.
That's from the Broadway play Giant. My guests are Tony-nominated playwright Mark Rosenblatt and Tony-nominated actor Aya Cash. Mark, what do you think about Jessie just brings out this person in Dahl? His ability to just keep going at her.
Well, he's a very controlling person, and he has a sort of animal, he's like a wounded animal, and he knows he is very quick to at least think that he can work out who's against him, who's managing him. What just happened before that clip is that she has accidentally dropped in his lap her copy of the book review, and on that copy of the book review are her scribbles, her responses that seem to be negative, seem to be questioning the validity of what he said, and so immediately he's putting stuff together. To him, is she Jewish? Where does she stand on Israel-Palestine? Is the wool being pulled over his eyes? And as someone who believes he has a sense of how those people that support the causes that he doesn't support might operate, he starts to kind of work her over. It's an animal instinct that starts to happen.
What does Jessie learn from Roald Dahl in those moments?
It's interesting. There's so many moments on stage. In the moments where he's talking to Tom Mashler, I find that Jesse agrees with him over Tom most of the time, which is so interesting because you'd think that would not be the case. But there's so much of the time that she's sort of chum in the water with these sharks. They're all, there's 7 plays happening on stage during any play, right? If you watch people who are not speaking, there's always something else going on. And there's so many times I look around and I see Elliot and Rachel plotting while I'm just there going, how am I surviving in these shark-infested waters? And listening to Roald talk about, that you should speak up, you should say what you think. Don't be craven. Say what you believe. Stand up. And I think in some ways Jessie agrees. She doesn't agree with what Roald is saying to say, but she does agree that we should be speaking up and to say your position. So I would say there's lots of moments where weirdly she agrees with Dahl.
They're weirdly like each other, which is why they kind of are drawn to each other. And also I think it's worth saying that she's a fan of his writing. That's the big tear for her, I think, is that she comes to this house in a way like I came to writing the play as a huge Roald Dahl fan. I love his work. I still read it to my son, and she's dealing with 2 truths at once when she enters that house. The man of her that shaped her childhood, her own son's childhood, and the politics that she's reading in that review.
It's interesting, and I thought this as I was watching the play, and my producer Jordan, I had the same thought, was like, why didn't Jessie leave sooner? Why doesn't she just walk out?
It's so funny. People talk a lot about the speech in Act 1, and I'm like, it's so interesting that more people don't ask why she comes back. It's a very that entrance is one of the more complicated entrances back into the play for when I come back for Act 2, because it feels like she has just done it. She's given it all away and there is no coming back. But the truth is, she is a woman with a job and a child with special needs, and that there is no discounting how much she needs this job and needs to be. So when she does eventually say, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but when she says that maybe she doesn't want to work for the publishing company anymore because of him, that is a huge deal to get to that place. And so every time I come on stage, and no matter what he's saying to me, that is always in the back of my mind, is that I have a family to take care of, and that it's not an option to leave.
Let's listen to you at this point in the play. This is from Giant.
You saved the Jews of Europe only to discover the Jews weren't worth saving. And now you want their devil state brought to its knees.
And what do you want?
I'm asking you to apologize.
To who?
To them.
To you! To you, Stein!
Just apologize. You understand the power of language more than anyone. How it can twist things out of shape, and how it can make things whole again. And this kind of language, when the world comes for us again, when people like you won't protect us anymore, it sends me and my son somewhere Mr. Taft knows only too well. So, yes, you do owe me an apology. Yes, sir. Yes, you do.
Oh, I love that. John Lithgow. What does he bring to the role that you didn't expect?
Oh, nothing at all. We've been working with. He's the only person I've ever worked with on it, so it's like his voice has been in the room since the beginning of the process. But he has. Just as a performer, he's like a Rolls Royce, and he just nudges the pedal and the engine starts to roar. He's got incredible levels of charm and incredible and in a relationship with the audience that is sort of charming and beloved, but also has this instinctive ability to reach into the darker and very controlling and calculated side of many characters he's played, and especially this one. His ability to play truthfully in both of those zones and to find the compassion of the character, the heartfelt compassion of the character as he does have, and the defensive, wounded cruelty of the character is not something. I certainly not something I take for granted. I mean, it's a masterclass.
Giant is going to be coming to movie theaters, I believe, this fall. Aya, how do you think it'll appear on screen? How do you think viewers will experience it on screen versus on stage?
I don't know. And it's not a movie, so it's a screen version of the play, which takes a different eye, right? You want to come to it with the understanding that you are not watching a movie. So it's not the extreme close-ups. It's not necessarily, it's not shot that way. But, for me, when I used to watch a play that had been filmed, it was like a little portal into a world that either I couldn't afford or I couldn't get to, and that feels really special to get sort of a hit from what we did in London, and that is very special to be able to have access to that if you couldn't have flown to the West End or and that's exciting because hopefully it brings people to live theater.
Giant is playing at the Music Box Theater. I've been speaking with Mark Rosenblatt and Tony-nominated playwright Mark Rosenblatt and Tony-nominated actor Aya Cash. Thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.